What do you picture when you hear the word witch?
Usually we picture a woman with a black pointy hat, dressed in all black, holding a broomstick, having a cat, and usually they're pretty ugly with green skin, a warty nose, and are pretty old.
Though this is what we believe to be the correct representation of the witch, the truth is that the representation has changed over the course of history, starting with the early civilization benevolent healer, to the 15 to 1800 evildoer, to the contemporary socially acceptable witch. Through all of these representations, we see a change in the community's fear of women's power.
To begin, the origins of witchcraft and witches is somewhat shrouded in mystery. However, examples of witchcraft are seen in early civilization, and Malcolm Gaskell's Witchcraft a very short introduction. He states that the nuts and bolts of witchcraft might be detected in early civilizations. Examples of these early witches are soothsayers, shamans, African witch doctors, and cunning folk. Though fear of these witches' powers did exist in early civilizations, as long as they used their powers for good, their powers remained acceptable among their communities.
As time progresses into the 1500s, the representation of the witch changes into the evildoer. In England, Henry VIII, Elizabeth I, and James I all passed legislation against witchcraft, making it illegal to make deals with the devil and evil spirits or to perform non-harmful magical activities such as treasure hunting and giving prophecies. Also in this time period, tons of propaganda against witches became common. For example, Hans Baldwin Grein's Witches' Sabbath is a woodcut that shows witches as nude old hags meeting in the forest to make potions. Numerous examples of this type of propaganda exist from the 1500s to the 1800s, creating horrible panic across the Western world. This panic sparked witch hunts in a number of countries. For example, the Salem witch hunts resulted in over 150 women and men charged with witchcraft, with 76% of the accused being women. The Salem witch hunts is one of the best examples of how the community's fear of witches can cause mass panic and the death of many innocent people, mostly women.
Why is it that women are associated with witchcraft more than men? One reason for this association can be found in Carolyn Merchant's Death of Nature. Merchant finds that from the 1500s to the 1800s, women were considered more sexual than men due to their relationship to nature. Since women were seen as more sexual, men believed that they were more likely to ally with the devil. Much like the case of Adam and Eve, the devil can persuade women with sex more easily than men. Merchant also suggests that another reason for this relationship between witchcraft and women is because women were seen as a weaker, more credulous sex. Since women are weaker than men, they are more likely to make pacts with the devil. From this information, we find that the witch is more likely a woman, not a man. Therefore, when we see the community's fear of witches, we can assume that this is a fear of women and their powers.
There are really two contemporary witches. One is the witch represented in media, and the other is the actual witch among us today. When most people think of what a witch is, they probably think about the Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz. However, as we move closer to contemporary times, we find the character Samantha Stevens from the TV show Bewitched. She is a young and beautiful witch, and with the twitch of her nose, she performs magical feats, solving any problem that comes her way. Even now, we have shows like Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Wizards of Waverly Place, showing witches as teenagers using magic spells in their everyday lives. In these shows, it is desirable to possess their magical powers. From this new representation, we say that the community's fear of female witches has decreased significantly since the time of witch hunts.
Now let's talk about the actual witch among us today. John Demos, in his book The Enemy Within, states that Wicca is witchcraft's currently popular name, though some adherents prefer to be called witches, plain and simple. There is a misconception that Wiccans worship the devil. However, in Margaret Adler's Drawing Down the Moon, we find that Wiccans do not accept the concept of an absolute evil, nor do they worship an entity known as Satan or the devil. A religious identification survey taken in 2001 found that 135,000 Americans recognize themselves as Wiccan, compared to only 8,000 a decade earlier. To gain a better understanding of this fast-growing religion, I interviewed Lou Stutz, a UPJ student and neo-pagan. He believes that Wicca is an appealing religion because it is like a spiritual buffet, where the person can pick and choose what they want to believe. From this, we see that not only is the actual witch accepted by the community, but is also a part of a fast-growing religion in America.
In conclusion, the Western representation of the witch has evolved over the course of history. Along with this changing representation, the fear of women's power has changed with it. Though this fear was small in early civilizations, as time progresses into the 1500s to the 1800s, this fear peaks, causing many innocent people, mostly women, to lose their lives. However, as we approach contemporary times, the fear of women's power decreases as communities become more socially accepting of their religion and women in general.
So the next time you put bugles on your fingers so you can pretend you're a witch, think about what you're really representing.
That's all, folks.